Yeah, so when we say it's a galactic war, we mean that in the universe as a species, we have now play at a microform factor where we interfere with biology, which it might be now able to program our own kind in terms of genetics, soul, and RNA. Which in the quantum biology, we might lose the connection, we end up becoming extinct. It might be saying that a species as a humanity is no longer in existence. What is left is a byproduct out of their experiment, which by looking today, we are the leftovers of such experiment if we have carefully observed the universe. So that is really pushed to say we need to have some consideration containing that. I think I'm one of those who on the movement to say we must acknowledge we are part of existence, universe, and we're part in a galaxy, part of a planetary system, part of a solar system, part of a planet, part of a ecology. So we must find ourselves that the integration that we are still aligned rather than finding that planetary no longer aligned because we more genetically programmed more than any other species. So when we say the movement, this is one of the things that it highlights in the people to see that there is a need for clear scope on other things to say really as a species are we still a species normal with something else under false pretense. For example, let's talk on terms of the quantum dot, which quantum dot is being imposed by the minority is a way to flash out the genetic system of a human being and transform him into something else which we cannot really be too sure where we're heading. But what I know is that mankind at the status where he is, he can never evolve much further than this in his body. His mental capacity can transform in understanding the reality, but we can't further evolve. This is who we are. And this stage where there's no much evolution, where we'll say our head will grow bigger and then our bones would be even much stronger than this is who we are, and we must accept that. But if a minority group thinks that for us we must keep on evolving, then we have a problem. So that is why we go now into the exopolitics, where in the exopolitics we talk of the majestical 12 project and the whistleblower. In this case, I am a whistleblower on the majestical 12 project. That yes, majestical 12 project penetrated the earth thousands and many thousands of years ago, and such technologies was used against us to wipe the original single gender incorporated to make the gender that we are. But if we today we can revise the past precisely, we likely to further experiment with majestical 12 projects in bringing extinction to our own kind. That is why we talk of a quantum dot, because the quantum dot that has been imposed from the West, it's part of the majestical 12 project. This is what has been done in the past thousands of years in the other galaxies, in studying a life, invading a life biological. So what happens is that they might implant a quantum dot now, so that after hundreds, thousands of years, a new species evolves, but in destroying the current species. So that is why we talk of the galactic war as a movement. So as a movement, it is our duty that we got to know what's going on in the inside and the outside. Even in the hidden side where tacitly none can share with the people. So when we say they can't share with their tacitly, we mean that the minority, the people in the front, these are people in their tacitly, they got this progress I'm talking about, but it's hidden. They can't share with you. So me, I am now using my explicitity taken from my tacitly to show you that in the movement we are in, we still have a lot of things we got to go through. One is the exopolitics, which exopolitics is all about exposing the majestical 12 project and its operation, its plan and implementation. So as I've just indicated that it's been there for quite a long time. Let me go back to the US, where now the current status at US, there is a debate in secrecy or in private session where they debating that should majestical 12 project technology be released to the public or still remain classified behind the curtain. That is why you see now we keep on changing now and then, because some of the thing we're using is not a human orientated technology, but it's an alien technology or majestical 12. So the future is that the 21st century implementation, it is nothing more than focus on STID, which is science, technology, industrialization, and digitalization, which in other terms we talk of industrial revolution. So when I say industrial revolution, this is a revolution against ecology in favor of STID, and it means we're killing ecology to favor what is science is bringing in the table with technology. So majestical 12 project is still its involvement in all of that. Because by looking is that they want to shift us into a state where it's technocratic. It's all machines. It's all the AI takeover. It's all dictatorship through satellite technology in between this that we are in and somewhere else. This is what I'm saying. As a species, we know exactly that the solar system as we know it will come to pass one day. But it will take a lot of millions of years that for to happen. But now it might happen that should at that time when it takes that time, the the humanity that current that time, it will not be able to save itself against that. So what do we do? So what this is what I'm saying. Yes, at the current status, we know that they need to develop a technology to take biological quantities of the earth and teletransport it far as 100 light years away. It's already in plan. It's not even in plan. We have sent a probe in 1976. It has already traveled almost over 5 light years away from the Earth, and it's been traveling at a high speed. And now we don't know what sample of biology did it take from us, and where it's gonna infuse in the cosmos, because you can't tell how big, how small. But these are things that are happening. So when I was sitting there, the navigator from the UK showed us that the sun is gonna expand and it's gonna become a hypergiant. And when it becomes a hypergiant, it means that our solar system, most of it will be swallowed. The Earth will be swallowed. Mars won't make it. Jupiter won't make it. Even Saturn won't make it. So what happens if the sun becomes a hypergiant? It simply means that we will have ceased. We will no longer be part of this universe. So to save ourselves from that, sometimes we consider that majestical 12 project, it might be used. But I think it might be used on the benefit of the species, which is as a whole, us, ecology, and so forth. So yeah, that's about the majestical 12. So when we say it's a movement, it's quite a broad movement. You got to know where you're standing, and you know your facts in terms of what's really going on. Understand? But I don't like the idea that as a species at the current status, we're using majestical instruments to our own kind, like of the quantum dot. So that's my worry on those things. So what we're looking at now is that let's hope probably sometime later there will be a change in the mindset of the minority and the majority. to us is to say, should we make majestical project to the public? Should it be kept private? Because if majestical project comes to the public, the technology comes to the public, expect a quite more of a more advanced society advancing into other new lifestyle of living, where people will no longer need transport, but they will rely on teleportation, you see. People will no longer control each other, but they might like to control a solar system somewhere because technology will make that possible. And yeah, that's it there. So that's about the movement for now. So whistleblower saying that exopolitics highly appreciated. There's one guy there who's pushing it and he push it, but we've already got a bigger scope about majestical project and its capabilities in implementation at place. And sometimes some of us have fell a victim of those experiments, and we're sorry for that to say that such instrumentation, such technology, the state-of-the-art technology, is now used against the people. It is bombing them, and as it bombing them now, we're looking at to say, if such technology was to come to the public, how will the public utilize it? Will it be the benefit, or it will start a right internal galactic war? Stay with us here on this movement of the Rebel Salute, and we will discuss further this federation.